Hello, I'm Dr. Ian McCullough. In this case study, we're going to look at automation. Now, many people think of automation as robots on a manufacturing floor or an assembly line putting things together, and certainly that is a use of automation. But automation is often back office, paperwork, manual decision making, and reviews. So in this particular public sector agency, they receive millions of pages of medical documentation a day, and they get a little over 3 million cases a year. And they have to take all of this documentation and look to see if a person is awarded or meets the criteria for disability benefits. Now, in the legacy manual process, the average time to have your benefits approved is about 4.5 months. So if you were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, for example, and given 3 months to live, you will die before you get any disability benefits. And so what that person does in that time is they're afraid of the financial impact on their family. So they maybe don't have insurance, so they won't go and seek medical care. They'll have very poor end-of-life care. Or if it's a longer prolonged illness, they may not seek the necessary medical attention that could improve their outcomes, all because they do not have access to benefits. So in this particular case, it is important to look at how we can use automation to get citizens the benefits that they deserve as quickly as possible while mitigating the potential for fraud. Now, just to give you an idea of numbers, is about 1/3 of the cases are supported, and about 2/3 are found that they don't meet their criteria. So it's not a small amount of people that are getting the benefits, but there is a trade-off that you have to evaluate. So let's look at what the process looks like. So what you're doing is taking the records or submission files that the claimant has provided you, and you need to convert that data into model data. So that involves selecting which documents you're going to use, adds context so you can kind of understand in a better context if it's relevant. You have to represent a lot of the text as data for processing. Then there's analytics that you apply so you can run your model. So a lot of these are unstructured case files. So claimants are submitting these not in a consistent or organized fashion. So every medical system probably has a slightly different format for the way that they encode data, process data. There are a lot of handwritten files from doctors. There are some that are text, but the text is not necessarily accessible. And so we have to do things like optical character recognition to convert the actual text into data, and how reliable is that? Once we have selected, converted it from whatever format it's in to searchable data, we then need to model over that data. And so we're going to look at a disability case outcome model. So this is going to be a model where we're going to take the input of medical data and context data, and we're going to bounce it off against regulations on whether somebody meets the qualifications for that disability. And then we can add in additional case level inputs such as age, sex, allegations of what happened, what disability level they are looking for, etc. So some other information. And then we can estimate a variety of things like what body system is targeted, what is the diagnosis, how is that listed, and render a determination. And so in that model, it is using a mixture of natural language understanding via graph analytics. So we have some idea of how of the key words that are being used, how they're related, what synonyms are being used. And so we can use a graph analytics model to actually render a decision. And what you're seeing in the other graph there is a precision and recall trade-off curve. And so we're looking to get the optimal kind of bend in that, so we're maximizing our precision and recall in the model. Now, an interesting thing about this system, the way we design this particular process, is instead of training this model on millions and millions of records, which is common in the payer-provider medical insurance HMO system, we did it on a few thousand carefully labeled representative cases so that we could make sure that we had high labeling consistency to maximize our precision. A few years ago, the company I was working with was looking to bid on a similar system for the Veterans Administration. So the idea is a veteran should be able to get near instant claims resolution when they are retired, as opposed to, like in my case, I had to wait over 4 months to get my disability benefits starting, which was problematic because I was leaving the Army, I was going to buy a new house, but in order to get the waiving of the funding fee in your home loan, you needed to demonstrate you had at least 30% disability through the VA. So those delays have a huge impact on veterans as they're transitioning out of the military. And so the bid, the project team, they didn't want to use this solution that we'd already implemented, dealing with only a few thousand training data. They thought it would be better to say, let's use the commercial medical insurance payer and provider millions of record system. And so that bid went in at $122 million. And we lost the bid on price to another firm that bid about $66 million, who, by the way, failed to deliver an effective system. So there's nothing in place right now. Meanwhile, the system that I'm describing to you here, we delivered for $16 million. So the volume in data really can drive up your costs in compute, in storage, in the way you're handling it. There are also some differences in cloud costs that go with that as well. So having small, highly consistent training data allows you in many cases to have better performance even than large volume data, and it also keeps your costs down. So one of the issues we had was in the hypertension classifier. So in the hypertension classifier, the performance was only about 25% accuracy, which was horrible, and it actually threatened the adoption of the entire system. So the solution wasn't in getting more data. The solution was in engaging with experts to help us understand. It was fortunate for us that the lead AI developer on this project was also a medical doctor. And he pointed out that hypertension is comorbid with a lot of other issues of like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And so there were other things. So when a person has these other conditions, the physician just doesn't note hypertension because it's implied. So with that information, we had a few nurses go back and label a few hundred case files. This is hypertension, this isn't, this is hypertension, this isn't. We then fine-tuned the hypertension classifier, and then we achieved 97% accuracy in the labeling. So again, it's that data quality that drives the performance, not necessarily the volume of data. So there's a few lessons and challenges that we had. So first of all, the policy constraints on how we're going to use this system is problematic. So right now, as I said, it's 4.5 months to get your disability claims approved. With this system in full implementation, it takes about 17 seconds to estimate the outcome of a claim with 97% accuracy. So how do we actually put that into play? Do we want AI adjudicating our disability claims? Many people would argue no. Well, one of the interesting things that we proposed was, why don't you just get the yes claims approved and out of the system quickly? So now a person that is, 97% of the people that are going to get those benefits, get them in a day instead of months. And then you overcome the issue of problems. What if you were to take the classifier that we now have and identify any potential claim that they have? So somebody that is going to be denied a claim for asthma, you can say, well, you don't have asthma, but you do have sleep apnea, so we're going to give you the benefits for that. We find that will reduce appeals and ultimately reduce cost. So thinking about not just how you're going to address problems and improve those outcomes, but how are you going to address that in the press, and how are you going to address that to be ethical in your implementation of the system? Again, that annotation investment for hypertension, the increase from 25% to 95% was not done because of more data. It was done because of high quality and labeling. And another issue that this program had was a lot of competing different production systems and tools. So even being able to simplify or streamline your architecture so that you have more consistent standards amongst people would be better. But at the end of the day, this system estimates the outcome of an annotator with about 97% accuracy, which is more consistent than the humans are with each other in this process, I might add. And it gives you the ability to drastically shorten the approval times, which you can either use to either increase the volume of cases you process, you can use it to put your people on more high value or more difficult or challenging cases. You can reduce the number of appeals. But sadly, this agency does not operate this system at scale today. And the big reason that they don't is they're afraid of the public relations nightmare that they would have if America found out that they were using AI to evaluate disability claims. But I want you to think about the person that has a major illness and can't get access to those benefits for months versus being able to get them today. It's not good enough that we back pay them for the past 4 to 5 months. We want to give them their funding right away. What is the ethics of withholding AI that can significantly improve the quality of life for citizens that actually deserve the benefits? And so maybe we need to think of AI not as what is the harm that it can do, but maybe the unethical thing is withholding the benefit in a harmful situation that it can provide. I'm Dr. Ian McCullough. Thank you for listening.